me on the secure line.
Please hold.
Boom. As easy as that. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Shout out new iOS feature.
You haven't tried that before?
I think I did it once. I always forget that it's there though, and it's so convenient.
Yeah, I was very interested in it because like I hadn't done it before having the idea for this show. I was like, oh, it should be as easy as this, right? And to my surprise, it was incredibly easy.
Well, there you go. You're a genius.
I sure am. Before we go any further, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, what's your name? What do you do?
Jonathan Morrison. I do a lot of things, but I make tech videos and music when I can. That's about the best way to describe it, I think.
I love that. It's so funny. I think I heard somewhere that it's so American to ask, like, what's your name? What do you do?
Right.
Well,
And I never have a good answer. That's always a tough question to answer, I think.
I thought that was pretty darn good.
Sick. I try.
Uh, what did you do today?
Today was a bit of a catch up week, well, catch up day. We had some artists out over the past, I think, week and a half. So a lot of writing, a lot of trying to get some songs over the finish line. So today was kind of the first, I guess, reset day after the big, I don't want to say chaos, but all of the commotion. So it was a little bit of a reset. It was the first time I got 8 hours of sleep in quite a little while,
Wow.
and just kind of caught up on some loose ends, and yeah, just trying to keep the momentum going.
I feel like sleep is very, very important for you.
It is, and I really, I think I've learned a lot, and I think I have a hard time shutting my brain off when I get into these kind of like creative runs, but
Mm.
I've learned my lesson, one too many times to not to know when to kind of reset. So that was definitely my last 24 hours. So I feel like I do struggle with it sometimes, but I've been able to find a better balance and know when to shut it off and try to reset.
Do you feel like you do well in a routine, or do you like the randomness of all the creative stuff you're doing?
In some weird way, I definitely have a routine. Like I'm very regimented with how I wake up, what I do, how I prepare. I think physical activity has been a huge part of the whole recovery process on my end. So I
Hmm.
think maybe where I would have had weeks like this, I might have missed out on those routine things in favor of just trying to get an earlier start on the day. But I think just with the few years I've had and realizing how important those kind of routine things are, that's I think what kept me grounded and not nosediving, where maybe I would have at least crashed a little bit from something like this. So yeah, I do enjoy routine, but I also enjoy the controlled chaos, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, totally. If there's one thing that you're like, okay, I can't do anything else, but this is the one thing in my routine that if I do it, I'll be fine, what would that be?
Probably just supplements diet. I think that's been a big
Yeah.
thing. Just figuring out how to, in my case, keep shingles at bay has been a huge thing. And I feel like I found a supplement regimen that has helped that. And surprisingly, I would say the biggest, I guess, addition to that is creatine, which I know we kind of think of as
Oh,
a weightlifting slash bodybuilding thing, but I think the cognitive benefits is actually what has surprised me the most. And part of the recovery just was just like brain trauma and my eyes not working with my brain. And in a lot of ways, it feels like as I've strengthened that and rehabbed and added things like creatine, it feels like that's kind of been what's the biggest shift over like the last 6 months to where, I'm starting to feel more like my old self. And there's just like I guess, a trickle and like a byproduct of positive effects of that, of just like it's helping my vision, it's helping video creation, staying not burned out, and honestly even music and songwriting. It's just
yeah.
kind of cool to see what happens when you take care of your body.
What a concept. As someone who doesn't know anything about anything, I mean, I'm surprised to learn that creatine is so helpful. Uh, in your journey of going attempting to go back to normal after such a huge health issue. Anything else you found that like, oh, this really works so well? Why haven't I been doing this all my life?
Probably physical therapy. I mean, I feel like as you get a little older in age, I think I've always, you know, with the exception of the, last 4-ish years, I mean, I grew up playing sports. I love basketball, so I would have always considered myself like somewhat of an active person.
Yeah,
And I think just realizing how much, not like getting ripped and shredded, but just like working out the boring muscles and
yeah,
posture in your neck, and how much that all actually goes into vision or even brain fog, right? Like if you're not having good posture and your head is forward, and we're all kind of victim to like tech neck and not paying attention to those things, it's kind of surprising how much that all leads to just more productivity and mental clarity and learning how to breathe right. So I think a combination of that and diet and supplements, I think, has really, I guess, transformed my life, I would say.
yeah. All the little things that just happen when you're younger and
Sure.
you take for granted when you get older, I guess.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's like most of us, you kind of don't know what optimal is, and you kind of get used to working into uh, a worse state because you don't know unless you know. And
Mm,
then, once you, I think in my case, you always kind of have that thought in the back of your head of like, we get sick, we get injured, but you always think, oh, it's fine, like I'll recover, I'll get better. And I think in my case, I hit the point where I was so scared that I'd gone too far the opposite way. It didn't feel like there was a way to reverse it. So
mm,
that's also fuel to, you know, do everything in your power to not go back that way.
yeah. Usually on this show, I usually have three recurring guests, and then the fourth person in the cycle is random. You are one of the randoms.
Okay.
Typically, I have a question prepared for my guest for the month,
Hmm.
or but like I don't think I have one. I just would love for you to tell us about the idea of perseverance, uh, wanting to keep going after such a random and weird and horrible health situation. Uh, what kept you going, and like even coming back to starting to release tech videos again and starting to work in music again, after you had to lay that down, why come back to it? Like, what made you realize, oh, this was very important to me, I want to do those things?
Yeah, I think I just enjoy creating. The idea of making something from nothing is so fascinating. And I think beyond that, just when you can make something that inspires somebody else to make something that's maybe even cooler.
Mm,
And I think, definitely not that you didn't appreciate the small things before or try to, but, I wish I could sit here and say that, I was like Kobe and his Achilles rehab or s- something, but like there were so many dark days. And I think truthfully, just knowing what my mom has persevered and, losing my dad early and kind of experiencing loss and knowing how that impacts others, I think that was probably the thing that kept me pushing because
mm,
I can't lie and say I wasn't dark or anything like that. And it wasn't from a place, like I said, like I've talked about, of not wanting to be here. I think I was just in so much pain and so tired that I just wanted peace and I wanted to rest, because like sleep hurt, being awake hurt.
mm,
I think with the brain trauma and everything, and just kind of a sense of disassociation and memory loss. And there was times where my mom looked like a stranger. I mean, it's
yeah.
like
Oh,
to look in the mirror and quite literally like not recognize yourself, and not like in just like a figurative way.
yeah.
It was just a darker place than I ever really could have imagined. So I think, it's been a place where I would say, 2024 was the first year I kind of found answers, and it was kind of like one foot out the door of hell is how I would describe it.
Hmm.
And it felt like, I was in a better place, but still not in a great place. And, the shingle stuff, it happened 2022, 2023, and 2024. So even though I found answers, I had still kind of relapsed a bit at the end of 2024, and most of early 2024 was still hard. And I finally started to like figure things out a little bit towards the end of last year. And I would
Yeah.
say the last 6 months, I feel like is when I've made the biggest stride. So just like, I didn't think I would be here. So it sounds cheesy and corny, but just every day of being here and every day of getting to walk in a grocery store, pick up a guitar, or go to the gym, it's like such a blessing.
Yeah, man. One of my recurring guests, she's an artist named Rachel Purcell. Uh, she shared on the show of a life-threatening pregnancy situation where she almost didn't make it. And she was like, everything after that kind of feels like borrowed time. As cheesy as that
Right,
is, it's just like I could have not been here. Like, what am I going to do with my life now that I am?
right, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's just like super, it's like the biggest fuel kick in the pants you can ever imagine.
yeah. So to start to feel better and then be like, okay, I still want to create in these ways that I had been doing so. So in music, in video. Uh, was there anything else that came to mind? Like, okay, like I hadn't tried this and like it was in the back of my mind. Maybe it was a dream that I was sleeping on. I want to try this now that I have a new lease on life, pretty much. Or were you just like, nah, the things I was doing, that's what I'm going to keep doing?
Yeah, I think you kind of came in to my life kind of at a place where like I initially thought I was maybe getting closer to what I wanted to do, because obviously tech and video is a huge part of my life, and I still do really love it. And I think to a lot of people there was maybe some confusion of like, oh, why is this guy trying to do music, or what is this
Mm,
tech guy doing music? And uh it's not that I didn't want to do tech, I just really enjoy both. I mean, admittedly, I do enjoy music, I would say most, just because I
okay.
think there's nothing like that. But yeah, it was just like years and years and years of trying to get to this place where you could do both. And I feel like uh, finally I'm able to, and I'm excited to just start, putting out both sides of that in a consistent way that doesn't like crush yourself, because it is a lot to try to do both.
Yeah,
But
I can only imagine.
I feel like I found that balance for sure.
Did anyone ever tell you you can't do both, or did you just feel that way?
I don't think it's a matter of, no one told me I couldn't do both, but people thought I was wasting my time with music for sure.
Mm.
It's like you have a thing that works, and it's like, why aren't you unboxing iPhones all day? And I don't enjoy that. I enjoy the creative part of it, just to make things I enjoy. And um, music is obviously, like I said, my favorite thing to do, I think, in terms of creation. But I still really do love the tech side, and I'm just kind of itching to get back to both at a consistent place, I think.
Can you remember when you first fell in love with music?
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a deep, dark question, but you know, I I think it stems from my dad first and foremost. He was big into music, and I'm thankful I got to grow up with someone who enjoyed good music, and I was exposed to the Beatles early. And I feel like it really wasn't until maybe high school where I started to develop, I guess, my own interest and own taste in music, where I kind of
Mm,
got into Metallica. And it's actually something I've thought a lot about recently, because as I started to get into heavier music, I wanted to play drums, and he played guitar. So he was like, no, you should play guitar. And of course, I listened to him.
yeah.
And, that was probably when I was 16 or 17, maybe. And I just fell in love with guitar and ended
Mm,
up to the point where, I was in baseball and basketball, and I also enjoyed, WWF on the side, but music became the thing that I wanted to do. And so much so that I ended up just not wanting to pursue sports because of guitar.
mm,
And, I would just obsess with it and stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning playing. And trying to figure out how to record and to stick my guitar into the 1/8 inch aux into the PC just to get a shitty signal in.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but it was also this double-edged sword because my dad was bipolar and he was going through a rough time at that time. And in hindsight, it's easier to look back and kind of see those things, but as a kid you don't really know what's going on. But no matter what the situation was, he was just always there. And I one core memory that I think always sticks in my brain is I remember as I was progressing, I just wanted to get an interface. It was like a combination line 6, amp sim slash pedal slash interface. And I
cool.
remember at the time he just said, "Hey, we can't afford this right now." And sure, no problem, Dad. And just remember, maybe a week or two later, he surprised me with it.
Oh,
And it was one of those things where, as disappointed as I knew he was, that I remember telling him like, "Hey, Dad, I don't think baseball is it." And I kind of had those steps of where
mm,
first I chose baseball over basketball, and then I let him know that I don't think baseball is it for me. And I knew he was disappointed, but he never really showed it. And the same way he was always the super dad and at the games and had the Gatorade and whatever fuel I needed. As soon as I shifted gears, he was taking, a burned CD of my shitty demos and showing them off at work. Um, and then, out of nowhere, he passed away just a few months after I graduated. And it was one of those things where it shook me so hard. And I thought I could turn to music to feel better. But I think because I had spent so much time playing, I feel like I missed out on time with him.
mm,
And I just really fell out of love with guitar. And I ended up, it just derailed me to the point where I get messed up school. I ended up you know working at a Sandmatch music store, which is kind of a temporary thing. And even though I worked there, I kind of like played less and less and less and less until the YouTube thing eventually happened. And
mm,
so it was always in the back of my mind, but there was probably a 10-year gap where I didn't pick up a guitar. And that was probably around 2018 that I just started to get a little bit of an itch. I got into like Lute and Julia Michaels and Lauv
yeah.
and Ed Sheeran. And I think those were all transformative for me in terms of like modern pop music, and started to slowly get back into it. And then that's where it started to, now we're full circle of like, oh, why is this tech guy hanging around mixers and producers and artists? And when the pandemic happened in 2020, I had already got a little bit of a taste of being around really great artists and producers. So I kind of took that time during the pandemic of working my butt off, getting back into guitar. I remember, I primarily played electric when I was a kid, but just got an acoustic guitar. I kind of fell back in love with it. It just kind of brought me back to a peaceful place where it like reminded me of my dad.
Mm,
And then yeah, went launched the song with Julia Wolf. And I remember that was iPhone 12, and I was so nervous because I had, been around her and Jackson Foote of Lute, who worked with her at the time.
yeah,
And I never wanted it to be like a place of just like, I don't want to say pity, but I wanted to earn my place in the room.
totally.
And I remember making a beat, sending it over, super nervous, and she, sung something over it. It became MagSafe, and then that launched the music stuff. Flash forward to getting a chance to finally release a song with Lute twice, and that was kind of the first, I guess, jump into that space which led to Atmos, which led to the
Yeah.
space that I built over in Santa Monica, and that's kind of where we connected. But then everything kind of came to a screeching halt again with Shingles. So yeah, it's like an interesting thing to think of, the fact that like, it's been 20-ish years since I've picked up a guitar, but I've probably only played guitar maybe 4 or 5 of those years.
That is interesting. I feel like uh, I have a similar archetype story, not exactly the same, points that were hit, but like when I moved to Alabama when I was around 12, uh, I grew up in church, so my parents picked a church and we started going, and I got plugged into like our youth group where
Mhm.
they had a band, like it was full band, drums, bass, guitar, keys, like maybe like 8 people on stage at a time. Um,
Yeah.
Eventually, I started singing when I was in high school, and I just like my anxiety and depression got so bad. Um,
Right.
that I literally felt like I couldn't use my voice anymore. It was one of my favorite ways to express myself, but
Mhm.
I was just so in my head and I was worried about forgetting lyrics and just messing up and just being not enough for the moment or the people or the situation. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna put this down. I'm not gonna sing anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually, thank goodness, through the help of some great records, including Madion's Adventure, which I know you love too,
Of
um,
course.
I got so inspired by things that I felt like, you know what? Even if I'm not a singer, I want to be around good music. Maybe there's a music industry I could work in. So I started just chasing the music industry thing and did that for years at a couple different colleges. Eventually dropped out. Eventually landed an internship where I'm working now at Centricity. Um,
Oh, wow.
and was okay just like leaving singing behind, even though like I was pretty sure I didn't want to be an artist or like
Mhm.
a background singer for my career. I didn't love it that much, but I did
Sure.
still miss singing. I grew up just singing in the back of my parents' car, and just that gave me so much joy to have that joy ripped from me, and felt like, okay, I don't have the same relationship that I had with it anymore.
Yeah.
That was so hard, and I never really mourned the loss of that time, that I could just
Yeah.
have had fun doing it.
Sure.
So literally, like, last year was the first time I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna start singing stuff again." Uh,
That's amazing.
so I just started, like, doing some carpool karaoke things, just recording it. I'll do, like, 2 takes of a song, whichever one I feel like I had more fun in, that's the one I'm posting. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
sound good, it just has to be me having fun.
Right.
So I'm just trying to have fun with music again, even though like I don't want to overthink the fact like, oh, all the years I lost or all the practice I could have done, or it doesn't matter. I'm here right now. I'm having fun. That's important to me.
That's quite literally all that matters, man. So I'm happy, really happy to hear that.
Dude, thanks. Well, geez. I
Life is
mean,
life is too short for
it
sure.
totally is. uh, Also, it's something that started a couple years ago, really after my divorce. It's like I started going to see more shows and
Mm.
realized like I love a concert so much so that
Yeah.
now I do a bunch of like traveling for shows. Like last year, I traveled to see Marianne at Red Rocks for the first Victory show. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
uh Going to go see John Bellion this year at Red Rocks. Went last year to see him in New
Holy
York
s
a couple times. Um,
Yeah.
is there something that maybe you hadn't experienced a lot of personally, and then you did for the first time? Was like, oh, this is actually really creatively inspiring for me.
I would say part of it is just kind of feeling like my brain has rebooted a bit, but, like, I've really been exposed to and have really enjoyed the songwriting process of it instead of
Yeah.
just necessarily producing, and it's really interesting because I think, with everything that happened, I always thought of myself as a very visual person, like,
Mm,
with your eyes, and I think part of, having your vision impacted, uh, initially was the scariest thing I ever could imagine, but I think what was worse was, like, losing the ability to see in your brain or your mind.
mm,
So when you can't see faces, when you can't visualize something, when you can't hear a melody in your brain, like, to me, that was the scariest part. So I feel like I've almost had this newfound appreciation and love for songwriting because ultimately it's just a different way of storytelling. And
oh yeah,
especially now, right? Like, I think it's the constant battle of trying not to fall down the rabbit hole of short form video, which I feel like kills attention span. Not that you can't
sure.
enjoy it or watch it here and there, um, but it's one thing to watch a TV show or a movie, but it's a completely entirely different thing when you can kind of tell that story or visualize that movie or TV moment in your head. So I think that's where I've, I guess, been exposed to that side and kind of really fallen in love with that just because of where I've been. And that's been a really good, I think, creative outlet and even just like brain builder from, what I would normally do before.
Yeah, I absolutely hate songwriting with all of my heart. I have no patience for it. I just, I mean, I like the idea of like asking the question to get to the idea of the thing we're going to write. I don't
Sure.
like actually writing the thing. I'm a big idea guy for sure. Um,
Sure.
so God bless you and everyone who wants to do it.
Yeah, man, the struggle, I think that's like a whole topic for a different day, but like I know with AI and
Oh yeah.
music, that's a big conversation. But I think, even ethics aside, if you put that away for a second, it's just there's not a better feeling than struggling through something and then finally like cracking the code or
Oh
working
yeah.
on something for days or weeks or months or years, because just the instant snap your fingers and a product being there, like where's the, and not that, it's not cool, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah. God, we could talk about this literally all day and night.
For sure.
Do you feel like there will be a plateau with all the AI craze happening right now, and just like we'll find ways to use it that aren't completely eroding people's creativity or isn't a very microwave solution? Like, will it have its own place or will it continue to encroach upon the things that actually matter, like creation?
I think, because I'm in that fine line of I don't want to be old man yells at cloud.
Same. Yeah.
Right. I don't want to just like turn a blind eye and just like look up and everything is different. So, I try to stay aware of things. Ultimately, I still think you need to have a great concept and great chords and great lyrics and a great melody. And I think, from my approach, it's the argument is like, oh, well, we have these robots that are trained off of, years and hours and hours and hours and days of humans.
Hmm.
But at what point do we kind of look at it like, well, if they were trained off us, why can't we train off them and then beat the machine?
Ooh.
So a lot of ways, like that's where my mindset is of like, okay, cool, like just like maybe it's just where I've been, where it's like when you kind of beat something like that, then you kind of, well, why not, and I think oftentimes it takes me back to like Derrick Rose's not even
Mm.
MVP speech, but prior to that when he's like, well, why can't I be MVP, and I
Yeah,
think,
bro.
why can't we beat the robots? And I think the most refreshing thing I've seen is it almost has become a boomer thing to like, I guess, embrace AI. Like if you fall for an AI video, it's a boomer thing. Kids are, wanting to bring back, wired headphones. I mean, I see Barnes and Nobles popping up, so like books are back. So in some weird way, it's like because it's so shoved down our throats, it almost like worked in our benefit to where like there's fatigue and playing instruments is cool. And I think now more than anything, being able to document that, hey, like here's how we wrote that song, or like here are
Yeah.
people getting together making it, like that's what's going to separate it from the robots.
I hope you're right. Think you're right.
I hope
Man.
so.
Okay. Two things on our way out. What is your favorite album right now and favorite tech product right now?
Oh shit, that's a tough one.
It's just
um
right now, not of all time.
Okay, of right now, I would say Ed Sheeran's latest album, Play.
Ooh.
I really, really, really like that. I mean, he's probably top three, maybe. But he's super inspirational for guitar. For I think something he's underrated with is just like, I know it's a crazy thing to call Ed Sheeran underrated, but I think what he has taught me through his music is just like dynamics and the ability to
Mm,
make something bigger sound bigger because you played the moment before it's smaller. I know it's a weird thing, but like he's so
mm.
good at that, of just making small things feel small and big things feel big. And it sounds so simple, but it's
It's hard to
um
do. Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to do. And you know, for many reasons, um I wasn't like a huge fan of the album before. It was okay. It also came out at a dark place in my life, so I
Sure.
think there's a little bit of just like, PTSD association with it. And yeah, I just really love the new album. So that's my answer for that one.
I just watched the podcast, or not a podcast episode of that Lil Dicky and Benny Blanco have. Ed Sheeran's on it and he
Yeah.
writes a song and it's like, yep, that's Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
good.
need to watch that because I know Dave is one of my all-time favorite shows. Like it's
Oh,
such
it's
a
fantastic.
masterclass.
Yes, truly. Okay, favorite tech
And
product.
then, ooh, snap. Um, I think I would gravitate towards probably just my M4 MacBook, M4 Pro
Ooh,
MacBook Pro, just because
okay.
I've kind of had, different seasons throughout this last few years where initially, I couldn't use a computer, so it was my phone because that was all I could really use at the moment. I mean, there was a
Mm,
period like a whole year where I couldn't look at a screen at all. So kind of, stepping into small incremental things of, using a phone, that kind of became my computer for a year. And yeah, I just what was it? I think it was Role Models, which is one of my favorite movies with Sean William Scott, but
yeah, okay.
the there's a place I'm going with this, but basically the little kid tells him like you're my PIC, and that's just short for partner in crime. And I feel like my MacBook Pro has kind of been my partner in crime through this last transformative year and a half. And I feel like I've had it with me, and it's been that thing that has allowed me to make videos and to write songs. And yeah, it's just like I don't really get sentimental with tech, but it's been there.
Okay. I have one of those as well. Uh I got it last year to do more video stuff and I haven't done any of that. But if
There
I
you
wanted
go.
to, I could.
Yeah.
Uh, well, dude, thanks so much for taking time.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. Like I said, it's anytime you need something, I got you. I'm thankful for our, few interactions so far, and I hope for more in the future.
Dude, same. You're the best. Everyone says so, and I love that.
Sick, man. Thank you so much, and yeah, we'll talk soon.
See you, bro.
Later.